Hello and welcome to this edition of A Conversation With. I'm Jim Marshall of the New Bedford Cable Network, and in studio today joining us, return visit, Michelle Hantman. She is the President and CEO of the United Way of Greater New Bedford. Thank you for joining us. The last time you came in earlier this summer, we were dying of heat in here.
I'm glad it's not that hot.
I had sweat coming down in the interview, and I'm going, oh my God. But thank you for coming in. This is we're entering late fall here, and it's that time of year, but it's a tough time right now.
Yes.
As we talk about food insecurity, I know that you or Victoria, somebody comes in every year to talk about it this time of year, but it seems even more acute this year with things that are happening, benefits being cut, we don't know what's going to happen, plus the compounding impact.
Yes.
And you guys are taking steps to do it, to address it as much as you can. The one thing when I saw the governor say that there is no way the state of Massachusetts can make up, $42 million in funding that the federal government gave. There's just no way it's going to happen. And I was reading in the Globe over the weekend about how food banks and food pantries and everybody are trying to do their best, but there's no way they can cover for everybody either. Talk a little bit about just the start. I mean, you guys, we'll get into the details, but talk about you guys do this every year, but it's, as we said, it's even more acute.
Yes, so we are still planning to do all the things we normally do for the holidays and what we do every day through the Hunger Commission. However, because of what is happening, for a while now, we've been planning and preparing to do more because it's very much needed, and we feel that that's really what our role is as a United Way, is to respond to the community. So that's why no year necessarily looks like the last. We are certainly very busy as we plan for our regular busy season, and this has been a bit of a disruption to really kind of prioritize how we can be supportive to the people that need it, how we can be the best partner to the organizations that we fund and that we provide other resources to, as well as also continuing to be a vehicle for those who can and want to give back. Right? So that's kind of how United Way is able to respond in a multifaceted way, because we mobilize people, right, and the resources. So there are people out there that can and want to support efforts, and then there are people that need the support. What we've done, kind of to be more specific to this particular issue right at the moment, we're doing some things locally, and then we're doing some things with our partner United Ways across the state. So there are 13 United Ways in the Commonwealth, and the governor last month announced a fund that she was endorsing that the United Way of Mass Bay is the front on, because they are the largest United Way in Massachusetts. And so they are raising money not only for their own efforts in the greater Boston area, but as well as a statewide effort. And then in addition to that, we're also doing our own thing and raising some dollars locally. Those dollars have already gone out starting this week to local food pantries, because we know the food pantries are going to need more supply. They've already seen an increase.
There were a number of food pantries that I know that you help fund. One of the things that I think that I don't think people realize too is that you actively seek new partnerships with restaurants, grocers, and other food suppliers.
Yes.
And that's a huge part of your commitment to the food banks. You're trying to get these outside, it's not just money, you're trying to get these outside sources to help. How is that going?
Right, so we don't usually actually fund food pantries. We provide food to food pantries through the Hunger Commission.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Because of what's happening right now, the dollars that we're raising through this response fund is specific to the pantries, because we know that they need some dollars quickly that are flexible for them to be able to purchase what they need. Most of the food pantries, really all across the state, receive most of their supply from the Greater Boston Food Bank. They purchase that at a very low cost. And then a lot of the pantries, depending on where they're located or how big their operation is, they also have their own network of support, vendor relationships, et cetera. The Hunger Commission really does a little bit of the supplemental work, right? So we're working with different suppliers, vendors, farmers even, and actually in the past year we've done a lot more with fishermen to get some of the bycatch to support, not so that fish doesn't go back into the water, but it's going back into the community. And not all the pantries can take that sort of, protein because of how they operate.
Refrigeration and whatever, yep.
Food rescue and delivery is a very complicated kind of
and it's really
thing.
It's a quick turn.
It's a quick turnaround, but we know our partners, so we know who's open on what day. We know who has freezer space, who has refrigeration space, who has the ability to take on certain things. And then sometimes when we have a unique opportunity, we just call them and we say, hey, do you want this? Can you take this? We recently entered into a partnership with Spoonfuls. We were getting 2 days a week, we were meeting them to get quite a few pallets of food. A lot of that food's actually coming from Gillette.
Really?
Yes, and so football season, they have lots of different vendors at the stadium. They have boxes, they have sweets, right? They have all of this food that they purchase to supply that, but not all of it gets utilized. And so we've been busy picking up from Spoonfuls, who is getting that resource from Gillette.
So could you get a phone call on a Tuesday?
Yep.
And I'm just going to pick a supermarket. I'm not picking one, but
Yep.
Stop and Shop.
Yes.
Stop and Shop in the South End says, hey, Michelle, we've got blank.
Yes.
That can happen on just a given day.
That's how food rescue and delivery works, exactly. So we get those random phone calls. And because we know our partners, because we know who, goes back to what I was just saying.
I don't mean to interrupt.
That's okay.
You have to,
we have to
you get
answer
them, but
the
then
call.
you have to deliver them
So
quickly.
we go to, say, Stop and Shop in your example, and we load up the truck, and then depending on what day that is or what time of day that is, then we're delivering it to the different pantries, shelters, kitchens that we support through the Hunger Commission. And
it's a ballet dance, really.
It totally is. It makes it kind of fun and unpredictable. But also, there are a lot of food programs that are open every day of the week. So the timing is so important to know who's open, right? So if we get a call on a Thursday at, say, 3 o'clock, and they have something that's highly perishable, we might not be able to take it, right? It depends. It really depends on what the item is. Lots of variables involved, but that's what food rescue and delivery is.
Is it the same with restaurants and things like that?
So we don't actually get anything from restaurants on a regular basis. Every once in a while we do have a call. We don't usually handle prepared food. We usually handle food that is, still whole, right? So like if somebody had a bunch of potatoes but they had to close for renovation or something like that, we'll take the potatoes.
Yeah,
right?
I would imagine you get meals, but I would imagine that if they ordered blank and it just didn't work, that they would call.
And that happens sometimes. But most of our supply comes from wholesalers and other types of vendors.
So have you seen, and again, kids are back at school, and I think the last time you were here we were talking, because at that time, that show that we did, it's a tough time of year because kids don't have their meals every day. Now that school's back in session and we're, again, late fall as we're taping this, are you seeing the increase right now of people that need assistance?
So we've been seeing it pretty steadily for several months now. Our mobile markets run from July to October, and I can tell you we saw a 50% increase in attendance to our own mobile markets.
Is that year over year?
From over last year,
yeah,
right?
Okay.
And so that's a seasonal effort for those few months, but 50% increase over last year. So that is a good example of, there are more people that are accessing these sort of resources, and I think it's because it's expensive, right? Everything's expensive. We're all feeling it, even those of us who, utilize the traditional supermarket and whatnot, right? Like we know everything is more expensive right now. So I think more people are accessing these sort of resources, and that's what we're concerned about with what's happening with SNAP, is I think that there are people who haven't ever gone to a food pantry.
Well, I think that's the thing too,
is
who, I think the perception is it's people who really need help, but it's at this point, and you can speak better to it than me, it's not people that are necessarily these are people who work.
100%.
These are two-parent households
right.
that work.
Well, I think there's misconceptions even on who's on SNAP, right?
Yep.
Like working families can be on
Yeah.
SNAP. I think there is a stigma that it's people that don't work. That's not true. We know that. But these resources are there for people who need that support, right? So regardless of what their situation is, sometimes people use it as a steady stream of support, and sometimes people use it only once in a while when they're feeling a pinch. But what we're also trying to convey to people is there's no shame in using these sort of resources. That's what they're there for. Because I believe that there are some people who have never needed to go to a food pantry that now are going to start needing it.
You know, it's interesting too that nationwide there are 42 million people that are impacted right now. The state receives 200 million a month, I guess,
Yes.
according to the figure, and the average recipient in Massachusetts receives $323 a month.
Yep, it depends on the size of the household.
Correct,
all
right,
that
but
good stuff.
we're
Yep.
talking the average is
Yeah, the average.
$323 for a month. I mean, if you go to a grocery store now, you could easily spend $200 a week for a family of 4.
Absolutely.
So it's not like it's a lot of money right now. One of the things that you announced too that you had during the pandemic is that the Help United Way fund. You touched on that,
Yes.
but just explain that to people
Sure.
because it's. I asked you off camera, do you think the toughest time? And you said, curiously enough, that the pandemic was tough. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like you're starting the same thing again.
Yeah, I do think the pandemic was a little bit more challenging because it was just such a unique point in time for everybody
the
at
unknown.
every level.
We didn't
And
know.
there was fear and there was so much unknown, right? How we responded to that as an organization, there were a few crazy days there of, what are we doing and how do we do this? But, I'm very proud of the effort that we had during COVID. So what we've been doing now, in many ways, we were prepared for that. And, while we certainly have been concerned, I don't think we freaked out as an organization because we felt ready and prepared.
The infrastructure was there.
The infrastructure was there. So as an example, the Help United Fund, that was basically our community response fund, right? Because United Way raises dollars annually, that's what we do, and we have different purposes of how we utilize those dollars, right? Most of the money we raise through our campaign is what makes us able to fund other organizations like the Boys and Girls Club, et cetera, right? So when we have other funds, they usually are very specific to certain initiatives. The Help United Fund, we put out during COVID as our community response fund. So when we were talking about this, it felt like, okay, we're just going to reignite that. It's there. But how we're utilizing it right at this moment is to support the food pantries. Now, if this goes on and this starts to shift a little bit, and depending on what the statewide effort yields, and because we know we will benefit from that statewide effort, but we don't really know exactly what that will look like, right? That's why we are prepared to utilize our fund to support the local pantries. Every pantry has kind of their own set of constituents, different populations that they serve. They know their people and they know what they need. So to be able to give them dollars that they can utilize to best answer what they know their people need and want, they're the ones that are taking into consideration being culturally, responsible of what their people want and what they don't want. Which is why, a lot of times people say, well, oh, I want to donate food. What should I do? And that's great. And we, as you know, we run a lot of food drives and we collect food. We tend to have very specific wish lists of what we're looking to
And that's key. And I think people should know that too. I mean, the non-perishable stuff is good. I mean, pasta
Sure.
is always good. Soup is always good. Cereal.
Yeah, canned tuna.
Right. I mean, you're looking
Butter.
for lack of a better word, substance.
That's right. Exactly.
You're not trying to get the milk, the bread,
right.
and the perishables because it can't last that
Right.
long. So
Right.
no matter what in a food drive, you're getting stuff that supplements that other stuff that the money helps
That's
buy.
right. And don't get me wrong. I mean, people, sometimes it's easy to just open your cupboard and say, oh, I don't need this, or I don't use this, or my kid doesn't like this anymore. I'll put that in the bin. And of course, we will put that to good use. But certainly, I think when organizations are saying what they need, that's not just coming from, like, let me make this up and tell you what would be great to have.
Right.
It's because this is what we know people, are asking for, and because it has more nutritional value, et cetera.
Have you seen, and you talked about the food drives, and there's always been food drives. I know the city's doing one right now. But are you seeing an increase in food drives right now?
So we have. So, this time of year, we're always starting to do our food drives, or we've been doing our food drives for our Thanksgiving efforts.
Right. Yep.
But over the past couple of weeks, we've had a lot of new businesses just call us, that we're not soliciting them. They're calling us and saying, we'd like to do something. So we also have several new businesses and companies that have stepped up to say, I want to host a food drive. So that's happening simultaneously while we're doing our Thanksgiving effort. And what we've said to them is, okay, we're going to give you a different list, which is more of that standard list, so that we're picking up things from those drives that are more those staple pantry type items.
One of the scary things that I saw, not that there's a lot of scary things, but the Greater New Bedford the Greater Boston Food Bank lost $4 million in federal funding. And I know that so many food banks, and I know that you folks get food from them. That's a huge hit for them.
So we don't get food from the Greater
Boston
Food Bank. We do not. So we pick up food from the food bank for some of our smaller pantries who don't have...
Oh, so that's the connection.
Yep,
I thought,
the connection.
okay.
No problem. So, some of our small pantries don't have a truck of their own or the manpower to pick up. So the food gets picked up. They order it. They handle the logistics. That account is with that pantry and the food bank. And then the United Way Hunger Commission picks up. That's not the traditional work of the Hunger Commission. The traditional work of the Hunger Commission is what we spoke about earlier, which is that food rescue and delivery. And we have some standard partners that we pick up on very regularly, like Blount as an example. They're so generous with us and give us many pallets of soup every week. But the food bank is supporting most of our local food pantries.
Yeah, it says it's the biggest.
It is the biggest source.
Source of across the state, and that's a hit.
It is. The good news though, and I mean, I'm trying to be optimistic just in general. I think that's what I try to do and hope to do. The Greater Boston Food Bank is an amazing organization. They are also a powerhouse organization that has, great influence and great reach, and they also are great fundraisers. So yeah, those numbers are alarming, and that will certainly, be a hit for them. But I also am optimistic that they have the ability and will raise quite a bit of resources.
You and I were talking off camera, and I think it's interesting too that it's not just the food, it's the compounding impacts of other things. And we talked about, we're coming up to the time of year where the heating assistance is going to be needed. You've always talked about housing, rents and what have you. Not that you guys provide rents, but it's something that you guys do. You guys are in everything, but
we are a little bit of everything.
But you've got that. You've got healthcare costs that are going to go up right now. It appears in January. These are
keeps coming.
All things all at once compounding for folks that, as you said, the perception is these people aren't working. We're talking people who are working, and they're all being impacted by this.
Right.
Touch upon how you guys are attacking just the other things dealing with the food too.
So some of what we're also doing, I think we're pretty fortunate to, Massachusetts has lots of programs and services. This area has lots of amazing programs and services, and not everything is going to fill every need of what is happening right now in this moment, but a lot of times it's about access and alignment, right? So a lot of what we're doing right now too is educating people and putting resources, information in front of them or in their hands. As an example, South Coast Health, right? They're our region's largest employer. We provided them with a whole resource list that they've distributed to their employees, right? Because people need to know where to go, and
Correct.
It can be challenging to navigate certain things. 211 is also a non-emergency
Yeah,
phone
you
number,
mentioned that in your press release
that
too.
United Way supports, and all our United Ways in the state, help provide funding to make that number possible. I encourage people to use that number, right? It's for non-emergencies, but if you're looking for information for just general services and different sorts of things that are happening here, they're going to help direct you or call us, right? Like that's what we are here to do as well. But I think giving people information is power, and there's lots of great resources out there that people can connect with.
One thing I didn't even mention was the Head Start programs too that are being cut federally.
Lots of cuts with Head Start as well.
Talk a little bit about too, as you're looking for assistance and you're talking about these things, I think there's a stigma people might be afraid to call. As you said, there's a lot of, some people do have pride too.
Yeah.
It's good for family members to be involved and say, hey, look at so-and-so needs help. I mean, you guys will reach out. I mean, everything, things are confidential and stuff like that.
Right,
And it's so important.
Absolutely. We've heard from some employers recently who have said, more smaller business where maybe there's not an HR person, but like that person that runs the organization is also the HR person. We've had calls from HR people. We've had calls from some larger companies saying my HR department's being inundated. People are coming to them. They didn't realize we had people on Snap, right? I mean, this is the thing. There's you don't know because we don't walk around with, labels.
Yes.
And so I think
Hi, I'm on Snap,
right? So I think it's an eye-opening moment for people. I think we do have a very caring, compassionate community, and one of the things that we always tell people is like there is no shame in accessing services. That's what the support is there for. But if you know somebody who's in a situation and they are too proud to call or uncomfortable to call on their behalf, right? If you're concerned about a loved one or a neighbor or a friend that might be struggling and isn't willing to take advantage of resources, put the resources in front of them, call us and we can help you do that. I think that it's about people taking care of people, and this is the time we're in, is needed more than ever.
You touched on really early in the show too, which I think is good. I mean, you still plan on doing your holiday stuff. So talk a little bit, because we've got a few minutes left, but I want to touch on the holiday stuff.
Okay, yes, let's end on a good
I know,
positive
exactly.
note.
This is something you've been doing for years, and obviously it's great that you guys are continuing. So just touch on that.
Sure. So starting with Thanksgiving, we do our major Thanksgiving effort. So we have the big food drop that will happen where we're collecting food in addition to having all these food drives at lots of different businesses, schools, and companies across the region. And all that food will be packaged the week before Thanksgiving. And then we're working with our agency partners to tell us how many of these items that they need for the people that they're working with, their clients. And so after Thanksgiving, it will be about 1,000 meal baskets that go out through our agency partners. And then in addition to some of these efforts, there's also some agencies that are providing gift cards to go with it, or Thanksgiving turkeys. Everybody's kind of doing something to kind of wrap around that effort, us included. Then, of course, there is our firefighters toy drive that we've done with the firefighters for almost 30 years now in New Bedford, and that's a huge effort. With it's amazing to see how much is collected there. And then again, working with our agency partners who are telling us how many kiddos they're serving and how many kiddos need things. So all of those efforts are still in place and are still happening. So I think what I would say is, if you can and you want to help, these are great ways to give back, whether it be through your dollars or through running collection drives, whether it be for food or whether it be for toys for kids. And then, of course, if you are in the position where you have a little bit to give, think of United Way as a vehicle to do that, and we can assure you that it's going to go to support people in need. And right now, the need is big and probably higher than it's been in a long time.
You've always been optimistic in that. You've always said that this area always comes through. As you look at this challenge right now, you still seem confident that people help people, and it's
I think so. We haven't been very noisy about the opening up the Help United Fund. We've been kind of subtle about it, just because I think every day we're like, is this going to change? And not wanting to put the cart before the horse. And so we've been pretty subtle about it, but we've already raised like several $1,000s of people coming through. Some of them are already our existing donors who are giving more specifically to this effort. And some of these names I've never seen or heard of before, but people are feeling compelled in this moment to step up and give, similar to COVID, right?
Yep.
And so I do think that we have a community where people want to give back. And there are a lot of people that are not in the position to do that. So that's why I say, like, everybody can do something, right? Whether it's sharing information or being an ambassador for the organizations that are doing the work, that alone is also, spreading good news and being helpful and resourceful for those that need it.
How about staff? I mean, your staff is great, I know that.
I know.
But you also look for volunteers, in a sense, to help with these efforts too. So if people, time is valuable.
Time is important, time is valuable. In all honesty, what I will say though is, a lot of times people feel very compelled at this time of year during this season to be a little bit more open to giving, right? Whether it be time or money. And a lot of times especially like food pantries, they have their Thanksgiving people locked and loaded, right?
Every year. They come back every year.
And that's exactly right. So just know that it's great that you want to volunteer, but chances of you being able to just doing that on a whim are slim to none. So if you're looking to volunteer and you want to know what's out there, we have our Volunteer South Coast platform. You can use that to find opportunities. The organizations are listing what's available because nonprofits are really taxed right now, right? So calling them or showing up at their door is not always helpful, even if you're ready and willing to roll up your sleeves in that moment. A lot of these places have, very tight operations, and their plans are already locked and loaded.
So, got a couple minutes here. Just want to give you one last chance. Where can people go for this information? Who can they call? Just some of your basic stuff.
Of course. So UnitedWayOfGNB.org.
It's a good website, by the way.
Thank you. Victoria is the one that oversees that. Of course, makes it up to date and beautiful all the time.
Right, she just passes the buck for you to come in the show because she doesn't want to do it anymore with me. But that's okay. I'm not hurt.
We divide and conquer, Jim. So UnitedWayOfGNB.org is our website. Right now it's set up so that the minute you get on our site, there's a pop-up and it says, if you need help, click here.
Right.
If you want to give, click here, right? So that's specific to the efforts that we've pretty much focused on with our time today.
Well, lots going on. Any parting thoughts here? Just to finish off,
No, I want to just remain hopeful, and I want people to know that if they find themselves in tough times, know that there are resources out there to support you. And if people are wanting to be part of a solution and want to give back, that United Way is there to support them and to make that happen as well.
And I think that's a good thing too, is first of all, if you need help, don't be afraid to ask for it.
That's right.
That's a good lesson to learn. Just don't be afraid, or if you know somebody. And I'm thinking not just of young people think of families, but like elderly.
Absolutely.
Who have pride issues and they don't want to ask for help. But if you see somebody, call somebody.
Yeah, step up for them.
Step up for them. It's great seeing you as always.
Great to see you as well.
I hope you have a great holiday season. Best of luck with this, and obviously if there's anything we can do, let us know.
Thank you.
All right. That's going to do it for this edition of A Conversation With. I'm Jim Marshall, the New Bedford Cable Network. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Sunrise, on top of the house, the kids, and our future. The smell of your cooking is our alarm clock. My Shiro's day is never done. So let's start saving a little more now so we can feel prepared for retirement. A free 3-minute online chat can give us the personalized tips we need so we can live our lives to the fullest. Visit aceyourretirement.org.
After you joined our family, it was like, I really do feel complete now.
A free 3-minute online chat can give us the personalized tips we need. Visit aceyourretirement.org